Hello. When it comes to teaching in Japan, there are a multitude of choices in terms of companies that you can work for. However, there are only two types of companies you can work for. ALT dispatch companies like Borderlink, and then there are this mysterious other side of the coin called Eikaiwas. I wanted to give you the good and the bad of both and pit them against each other so that you can see the differences and maybe make an informed decision about which ones you would like to work for. Both are good, both will get you into Japan, and both will pay you. They're both very different from each other. Let's go ahead and start with ALT dispatch companies. So the pros of working for an ALT dispatch company are you work with Japanese people in schools. If you are trying to immerse yourself in the Japanese language and you're trying to learn the Japanese language, this would be the ideal position for you. Work as an ALT. In the Eikaiwa, you're mostly not allowed to use Japanese at all. You interact with more English speakers on a daily basis than, say, Japanese people. For the most part, and I hear this a lot, when you work for ALT companies, you generally might be the only foreigner in that school. If immersing yourself in the Japanese culture is something you want, this is going to be the most beneficial for you. Number two, no evening or weekend work. When it comes to working for an ALT company, the scheduling is very precise. Generally, you're going to start at 8:30 and you're going to get off by 4:30, and that's going to be the day. This really depends on the contract that you sign. Some of the hours might be a little bit different, might be shifted back and forth, but generally, early start, early end, and you get weekends off. There should be no weekend work, and you generally will get compensated a day if you are made to work on a weekend. So it will be most likely the following Monday. The next one is that there is a salary. It's very precise. This day of the month is when you get paid. There is nothing more comforting than consistency. Eikaiwas usually pay you per class and have a per class payment structure. So you may be able to make more when it's busy, but remember that on the other side of that is when it's slow, you will make less. Number four, when you go to Japan and you start teaching English, there's generally this English teacher bubble that you may or may not get stuck in. This usually involves people that you just interact with more foreigners, with more native English speakers, or with people not from Japan, and that's your group of people, and you tend not to leave there. Being at an ALT company, you're constantly working with Japanese people, and it'll help you get out of this English teacher bubble. You may enjoy being an ALT if you have some Japanese ability. You like the 9-to-5 job schedule. You value the monthly salary. You want to be more involved in Japanese society. And lastly, if you're planning on staying in Japan for a medium amount of time to a long-term time, so more than just a few years. Now we're going to talk about Eikaiwas and the pros of working for them. When you work for an Eikaiwa, there is no early morning start. Generally, what you're going to do is you're going to start like 12:30 noon. It's going to be like the later morning or the afternoon is when you start. You will clock out at about 9 p.m. most days. It may be a little later. If really getting up early in the morning is a struggle for you, Eikaiwas are probably the way to go. There are plenty of overtime options. One of the biggest selling points for Eikaiwas are that there's no limit to how much money you can make with them, because you can constantly take cover shifts and gain overtime. You're more than welcome to work more than what you want. So if you're a workaholic and you want plenty of overtime and that's what you want to do and you want to make money while you're over there, work for an Eikaiwa. There is more variety of people to teach. When you are an ALT, you're kind of locked into the school you're in. You're teaching one, maybe two classes, and they're going to be a certain age, and that's it. But for an Eikaiwa, you have a diverse mix of people. You could be teaching business salarymen and women. You could be teaching elderly hobbyists and retirees. You could be teaching small young children, anywhere from elementary school to high school to college students. There's just a wider variety of people that are, that want to learn English that go to Eikaiwas. Number four, the flexible holiday schedule. When it comes to being an ALT, They want you to take your holidays outside the school year, during the breaks. These are when you take your holiday. And most Eikaiwas, depending on the one you work for and the contract you sign, will allow you to take your holiday outside of those time frames. One, because they're private classes and they're not governed by the Japanese education ministry, so they don't have a particular schedule. It's a private company. You may enjoy the Eikaiwa life if you are a late riser and a night owl. You are newer to Japan. You aren't worried about the irregularity of pay. You enjoy teaching a wide variety of people, and you don't plan on being for Japan for a long stint. Maybe a few years at most. These are the kind of pros and cons of each of them. ALTs and Eikaiwas both have their ups, both have their downs. I chose ALT because I wanted foundation and consistency. I have a basis in Japanese. Like, I'm not fluent, but I know enough to get by. And I want to kind of establish myself in Japan because I can see myself there in the foreseeable future. That's why I chose an ALT company like Borderlink. But if you just want to come to Japan and you don't really care where you work, I recommend whoever hires you. I know places like Eon, they'll actually help you get a visa. Look into that company. I hear they're really good. I just found that when you work for an Eikaiwa, there's a lot of like selling you do to the people, and I'm not about that. I want people to understand the love that I have for my mother tongue and a love for the Japanese culture as well. And so I really just feel like expressing that in my teaching rather than trying to sell them a book is more my speed. But if you don't have a problem with that and you are like, I just want to be in Japan and I don't really care, go with the one that hires you and that helps you get a visa and helps you get in Japan. That's my advice to you. But this has been an incredible time. Thank you so much for coming and spending some time with me. And I hope to see you in the next video. Hopefully this helps. Look out in the future. I may do a video on some different Eikaiwa companies to look out for. If you'd like to know about any in particular, put it in the comments. I'd love to do some research on it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.